Have you ever looked at a huge, successful company and wondered how it could just fail? Well, it turns out that sometimes the riskiest thing a business can do is absolutely nothing. Today, we're going to dig into this slow fade to failure and the one powerful strategy that can stop it dead in its tracks.
So, how does it really happen? How does a company go from being the king of the hill to just a memory? Think about giants like Blockbuster or Kodak. It's almost never one big, dramatic implosion. Nope. The real story is usually a lot quieter and way more dangerous.
It's this thing called the slow fade. It isn't a sudden collapse. It's more like a gradual decay. It's what happens when a company gets comfortable, when it starts making thousands of tiny little concessions to the way we've always done things, all while the world outside is changing at lightning speed. And the core of the problem, the basic drive to get better, just vanishes.
You can actually picture this as a constant battle of forces. On one side, you have this relentless external pressure. New tech, new customer demands, markets that are just always in motion. But pushing right back at it is an equally powerful internal force, our own human nature to resist change. We like things to be stable, predictable. And when that internal resistance wins out, you get complacency. And that is the perfect breeding ground for decay.
Okay, so if standing still is a one-way ticket to failure, what's the move? How do you build an organization that doesn't just put up with change, but actually thrives on it? Well, it turns out there's a whole philosophy designed to fight that slow fade head-on.
And it's called continuous improvement, or CI for short. The idea is actually pretty simple, but incredibly powerful. It's all about being proactive instead of reactive. It's a deep commitment to ongoing improvement, not just fixing things when they break, but constantly making them better through both tiny tweaks and massive breakthroughs.
And listen, this isn't some high-level abstract business theory. You see it happening everywhere. Just think about the iPhone. Every new version isn't a complete reinvention, right? It's a collection of deliberate, focused improvements. Or think about how quickly vaccines were developed and then refined. Even a shopping website like REI is constantly being updated to make the experience smoother. That, right there, is CI in action.
So we get it. CI is about making things better. But here's a key insight. Improvement doesn't just happen at one speed. It actually comes in two totally different flavors that have to work together.
On one hand, you've got incremental improvement. These are your small, steady, low-cost changes. The power here is that they add up. Think of hundreds of tiny wins creating a massive advantage over time. This is the steady climb. Then you have disruptive improvement. This is the giant leap, a huge breakthrough that unlocks a whole new level of performance, kind of like swapping a manual assembly line for a fully robotic one.
And here's the cool part. These two speeds work together in this really powerful rhythm. An organization will spend time on that steady climb, using those small incremental changes to get better day after day. Then, boom, a disruptive leap happens, and suddenly you're at a whole new, much higher starting point. But you don't just stop and admire the view. The most important part is that the steady, incremental climbing starts all over again from that new, higher baseline.
Now, knowing the theory is one thing, but how do you actually make this a reality inside a company? How do you build a system where this rhythm of improvement just becomes second nature instead of, fizzling out after a few months? Well, it takes a really deliberate structure.
Our research shows there are 4 essential pillars to make this work. First, it needs a strategic foundation. CI has to be an official company plan, not some little side project. Second, you need a cultural commitment. Improvement has to be everyone's job, every single day. Third, a formal structure. You need people whose actual job is to champion this work. And finally, critical measurement. Because that old saying is true, if you can't measure it, you really can't improve it. Let's just zoom in on that second pillar for a second. Culture. Because this is really where the magic happens. For CI to truly take hold, it can't just be a program run by a few people in an office. It has to become part of the company's DNA. It has to be in the everyday language people use. You need managers in every meeting asking, okay, that's great, but how can we improve this?
And what about that third pillar, structure? Sometimes all it takes is one, just creating one single formal position, like a continuous improvement manager, sends this incredibly powerful signal to the entire organization. It says, hey everyone, this isn't just a suggestion, this is a priority. It gives the whole effort a champion and a clear focal point. So it's really important to understand that continuous improvement isn't some single rigid method you just follow. Its real power actually comes from the fact that it's a hybrid, borrowing the smartest ideas from a whole bunch of different expert fields.
Yeah, CI is incredibly interdisciplinary. It pulls tools from systems thinking to see the big picture. It borrows from project management frameworks like Scrum to get things done fast. But, and this is critical, it also leans heavily on human factors and change management. Why? Because the most brilliant process improvement in the world is totally useless if people won't actually adopt it. It's this mix of disciplines that makes CI so tough and so effective.
So let's end with a question that really brings all this home. We've been talking about big corporate strategies, but the real heart and soul of CI is that small, steady climb. So, thinking about your own world, whether it's at work or just in your personal life, what is one small, incremental improvement you can start today?